What's up, everybody? Welcome in. It's another edition of Esports Weekly. We've got a very unique show for you here today. It doesn't mean it's not going to be great, but we're a little short-handed. You see, FDOT is off fighting werewolves in New York. Anatoly is off fighting werewolves here in Atlanta, and Finch is, I think, the werewolf, but I'm not quite sure on how that works quite yet. But so you're stuck with us on the desk all day, including this arm just to my left. It's Taco and it's Hindu here with me. Buckle in, folks, because it's going to be a good one here.
I'm really impressed with production because me and Taco just changed places and we never do.
They did.
Managed to get our names right too. I'm like, wow, okay.
Solid work back to Jennifer.
At least some of us are working today, you know?
Yeah, some of us. About half if you're good at math in that regard. Let's start with the SCL, as we usually do. Well, you guys don't usually do. It's usually Finch and Toly, but we're going to start with the SCL. It isn't the last week of the SCL quite yet. Remember, they are a week behind, so this was just week 5 that we watched yesterday, but a really big game in a lot of different regions. We'll start with the Xbox side, I suppose. Europe, it's the top team that goes to Dreamhack automatically. That will be Team Rival, but that Noxious versus Cyclone game ended up being very, very big, and Noxious won in a game that Cyclone probably should have taken.
It just came down to the final moments, I think, in the third match between Noxious and Cyclone. And Cyclone as well, even in the secondary game, I just feel like they kind of just played against each other. And I don't think that Noxious really did anything completely unexpected. It just didn't seem as though Cyclone were all that prepared.
Cyclone also lost 3 Fire Giants to 1 Wukong. You don't win many games in that way.
Wukong.
Yeah. How much damage do you think Magic Cudgel does at level 20? Like, not a lot.
I mean, the old days, some Wukong back in Season 1, he used to steal a lot of Gold Furies and Fire Giants all the time, didn't he, Taco? Do you remember those days?
He stole a decent amount of
stole a hell
them,
of a lot.
but 3 in a row with the Cudgel just doesn't even make any sense.
Wait.
Somebody has to be zoning eventually.
I'm just getting news that Hand of the Gods isn't available.
That's right.
Yet, he still stole 3 as some Wukong.
Yeah, still stole them.
Okay.
Magic Cudgel, what, like 300-ish damage at that point in the game? Yikes. Well, I think we'll be seeing that a little bit later on, but that does mean that week 6 is huge between Noxious and Cyclone. That will determine who comes to the placement rounds. As for North America, Astral Authority is already guaranteed to go to Dreamhack. They've punched their ticket as for the placement round. Flashpoint looks like they're in a great spot after their victory over Armada as well. And let's take a look at the standings to see who's going to play who in the final week of the console week, or schedule, excuse me. And it is Flashpoint versus Elevate. Elevate hasn't won yet. Flashpoint's already at 3-2, so you expect Flashpoint will punch their ticket.
Poor Cyclone, man. I mean, it all depends how Rival play for me, because Rival technically hold the destiny potentially in the hands. Because if you look at the other team that's available there, they've only got to face off against Retribution. So, you know, that should be a guaranteed win. How can Cyclone do against Rival?
Well, Cyclone don't just need to get a victory over Rival, but on top of that, they need some assistance from Retribution to take a set away from Noxious. And with the way that things have been looking for Retribution side of things, I'm not all that certain it's going to be very likely.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, that's for sure, but we'll see who ends up coming to land for the Xbox teams, and they will be facing off against the top PS4 competition. Now, PS4 League, it works very similarly. It's just that the top team from each region comes straight to the placement stages. So you have to get first overall, and Freaks T1 took a big loss to Bulldog, but luckily for them, Playing Duck stepped up and also 2-0'd the other 3-1 team, Insomnia. So that they put themselves in a position where they could have fallen, but ended up okay. In Control took their first loss of the split as well.
Just a lot of different upsets, I think, for both sides of the platforms. And a Freak set especially just felt like Bulldog coming out with an all-new sort of fire. Even in the matches, we just talked about it before that set even went live, because we've seen some really solid performances out of Bulldog despite a couple of, I think, shaky set moments where it would usually be 1 or 2 bad team fighting decisions that would generate their losses. But Gunter Warrior just really stepped it up.
It's a really good start for the PlayStation 4 League, though. I'm really excited about how the league's been going so far. It's very new. All these players just getting to grips with it. Imagine what Season 6 is going to be like with these guys.
Very competitive already in the PS4 side of things. And so now it's Insomnia and Freaks T1. Both need to win in the final week, and I think they might play each other. We'll see in a moment when we take a look at next week's schedule. And then In Control and Coalition will not be playing each other. They just did. So we'll see who they go up against, and Evil Lemons might be trying to play spoiler with their first victory so far of the split. I think that's their problem. I was just saying that.
Yeah.
I think that's why they're 0-5.
I think they have a banana instead of a lemon.
Exactly. Just switch that up to a lemon. I mean, I get that they're both yellow, but I don't think that's enough synergy.
are Evil Lemons actually just bananas? Is that the point I'm trying to make? And maybe bananas are just Evil Lemons.
Well, maybe they aren't as evil as we thought. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they aren't as evil as we thought. It is Freaks T1 versus Insomnia. That game is do or die, already a playoff game, basically, for those two. Coalition does go up against Evil Lemons, and so they might be able to put some pressure on In Control, who have to go up against Strictly Business. So it's gonna be a very, very fun Week 6 for the PS4. Can't wait for that. That'll be next Monday. Even though there won't be SPL next Monday, you can make sure, or Tuesday, or so on and so forth, there will be some console league action.
Yeah, next week, though, we do also have minor league as well. But we'll get to the minor league because it's coming up now, right?
That's right. It sure is going to the minor league right now. Look at that. You don't even need to know. You're not on the segment usually, Graham, but you're killing it anyways.
I've got this list on the left-hand side, so I know what's coming up too.
Oh, yeah, I'm not as impressed as I was.
No, I know the other people in the debt sets don't really look at that, but
no, I don't. Yeah, okay.
You know.
All right. Well, good
Been
work
around
anyways,
a while.
I guess. I'm impressed. Let's take a look at the schedule for if you missed that last week of the Smite Minor League. Optimus Gang did take a loss offline to Sacred Speed Buff. That's because Johnny wasn't here. Well, maybe not entirely, but certainly contributed. Johnny was subbed for this week, but he is guaranteed, as is the rest of Optimus Gang, into that top 3 in Signum as well. But it's a real pile-up to figure out who that third team will be in Europe. In fact, let's take a look at those standings so we can see who's contending for it.
Even in Europe, I think that Optimus Gang might have already solidified themselves as the first place team heading into the round robin stage. But in Signum, I think are still looking to catch right up to them. I think once things are a little bit more once it goes to a best of 3, that becomes a little bit more complicated than just doing these best of 1 series.
Yeah, you want to take a look at the number 3 and 4 seeds here, because the top 3 next week will face off in round robin best of 3s. The victor overall goes to Worlds, basically. But basically, the 3rd, 4th places, they're the ones that are most important right now because they're tied on points, and that is where it's going to get interesting.
It's going to get really, really interesting. Yeah, I hope Cooper's ready to do some math and figure out the formulas to make sure we know exactly what the tiebreakers are and all that kind of stuff for that top 3. Of course, we will be giving you that information for the broadcast of the minor league this week. But North America has the same sort of problem. Very nice to me. They're in. They're coasting right now at 8-1.
Yeah.
But Armada, Sanguine classified. 2 out of those 3 teams will qualify to go into that round robin, but 1 will drop.
It classified with a massive upset victory as well over Very Nice to Me in week 5. That, I think, has already put a lot of pressure on Sanguine and Armada.
Graham, why did you mute Taco's mic about that?
I didn't know I could do
that.
Wow,
you really didn't want me to compliment Classified here.
I guess anti-classified caster confirmed right here for Hindu Man. What Taco was saying...
I can control Taco's mic. This is the greatest. When Taco starts going on a rampage, I'm just like, hey, Taco, start talking. Taco, tell me a story.
No.
Why? I'm sorry, I didn't know I could touch that button.
What Taco was trying to say was Classified found a big victory over Very Nice to Me and now put themselves in a great position in order to try and get there for this next week. It's going to be a big one. I'm very excited to see it. We will see these players that made big performances in week 5, I think, try and replicate that in week 6. The first one, I think, does belong to Classified, and that's Mollusk. He had a really, really big week in the jungle. He played Pele and was really dominant there. I think that a lot of junglers in the minor league and in the leagues below the SPL have been a little bit more reticent to pick up this Pele, but Mollusk looked great on it.
It's just the risk versus reward factor that's involved with Pele. You know that her early game is going to be fantastic. She has a lot of movement speed as well, thanks to that Magma Rush. It can be really difficult to run away from her, but outside of the early game, she can't really necessarily scale all that great into the mid and late. I think that's where the risk comes into play, but it's possible to still make her a viable pick even in those later stages.
I agree. I think she's a very true assassin, though. The whole stretch of it's like Carly coming into a team fight right at the end of a fight, right? That's the dream. Right. That's what you want from Pele. Let her split push. Let her be way away from the fight, almost like an Apollo in the other lane. And then rotate in as the fight's starting and go, oh, you're low health? Well, let me get a quadra kill.
I mean, you're fast enough as Pele, right, to make that kind of stuff happen.
Credit to where it's due, though. Mollusk has been around the scene for quite a long time now. I still think if he stayed on console, he'd probably be in the World Championships, probably looking for his, another title.
Look, Mollusk, we were talking about it during this broadcast for that Pele game, and Mollusk is, you roll the dice, and he either obliterates everyone and carries the game, or makes it very hard for your team to win the game.
I do
and
love the
there's
fact
very
that,
little in between.
I do love the fact that they've got more and more console players that have done switches between PC to back to console than console to PC again.
Yeah.
It just shows that the level of depth that we've got between the leagues is actually really close. The skill actually transfers over. It's only a couple of key presses that are different.
I mean, I was going to talk about it a bit later, but take a look at Inbound for Luminosity. I mean, Inbound has joined that team, and the first player who never played on PC before to play it whenever the game came to Xbox, play there on the console, and then move over to the SPL. I mean, that is the whole idea of the Smite Console League, is to give those players an avenue to compete and then to move up to the league that has been around the longest and has the kind of the most prestige behind it. I think it's super exciting for the Smite Console League and in all its players. But let's go back to the minor league. Zero in Europe also had a very, very good week. He played some Vamana this week and really just crushed his opposition. Zero has really come into his own as well as a player throughout this year. Whenever Insignia was first formed in the spring, we were like, okay, who's this guy? But he really has become a real threat in the solo for this team.
Zero, I remember all the way back from like the Alexi days with him, and he has been a player who has just steadily improved more and more over time, and I don't expect that to change either. I think that the longer he continues to participate in Smite, whether it's amateur league or even possibly being brought up into the pro scene, he is always willing to, I think, make those adjustments necessary to best suit his teams.
He's on one of those teams, though, that is really going to allow him to find his roots in the solo lane. You know what I mean? He's got a good jungler, good mid laner behind him, got a lot of experience, been around the scene a long time. Makes the adjustments very, very simple to be like, okay, this is my job in the team fight. Cool, I'll just do my job. And then you start looking good.
Exactly. When you're on a good team, it's easy to look good, but Zero, I think, has looked good independently of that. I think that his level of play has definitely grown throughout the year, and if Insignia are going to beat Optimus Gang in that best of 3 round robin.
Best of Robin?
Best of Robin. Heard it here first. Then Zero's going to have to go up pretty big. Let's take a look at Week 6 schedule to see who has the best opportunity to join teams like Insignium and Optimus Gang. Milky Way's got a doubleheader up against Exordium and Sacred Speed Buff. The Poppies up against Exordium is a big game offline. And then in North America, you've got Classified and Team Cryptic going up against Sanguine and Ranked All-Stars each.
I'm keeping an eye on Sacred Speed Buff also, because going against Insignium won't be easy. Poppies have the same kind of issue, though, where they'll have to face Optimus Gang. I feel like there could be some very possible tiebreaker situations, though, between Sacred Speed Buff and Poppies.
Oh, God, more games?
Possibly.
The year never ends.
No, we're getting close to the end, Graham, but not quite there yet. That Armada Classified game is huge, though, in North America this Week 6. Those are 2 of the 3 teams competing for that top end. Sanguine has a doubleheader. Cryptic, you expect them to win. Very nice to me. Not quite as much. So keep an eye on Team Sanguine if you're rooting for those guys. All right, that's the Smite Minor League. Again, that'll be on Thursday and Friday of this week starting at 11 a.m. You will also have that best of 3 round robin later on. So let's move on to the Global Series now. Is this also winding down there? Very similar to what we've got in the PS4 League, where you have to be the top team in your region in order to qualify. Let's take a look at last week's schedule so you can see what happened if you missed out on any of that Global Series action. Of course, Global Series will also be live right after this Esports Weekly, as No Ping went up against Watch My Nene. They found that victory. Black Dragons also beats Etes, but Brazil is getting really, really close. I think that No Ping might still be in the lead.
They are at the moment, from what I remember.
Black Dragons.
Yeah, and I think that's the scary thing, is because Black Dragons is almost, we expect a shoe in that spot in Brazil. Whenever you look at Brazil, you're like, all right, Black Dragons are coming out. Klizzy's going to turn up with the boys again, and they're going to do things. I was going to say good things, but I'm like, things in general is generally what happens.
They'll be here. You know, like that. That's what you were going for.
But the difference is No Ping, like, at the moment, undefeated. They took down Black Dragons. That's a big game there. Nocturnes, though, still dominating LATAM South, and I expect they're going to be the LATAM representative as Worlds too, even though Lotto Gaming did look semi-decent this split.
They did. And Why So Serial actually at 3-2. They've been your consistent LATAM North representative, so Lotto Gaming might be able to take that. Atletico is edging out in sight currently. It looks like Get On My Level is guaranteed out of Southeast Asia. But I just want to see the schedule for the next week if we have that possible. But
well, I know we've got
we
Atletico today, I believe, taking
Atletico
on Wigan Servo.
Okay, that's a big game that Atletico definitely needs to win.
Well, I mean, they should. It's 5-0 versus 0-5. It's SK versus any team in the SPL.
Hey, man, you got to win it. It's
in European SPL, though, because, like,
how do you think SK is going to do? We'll get into that later.
We'll
get into that when we talk about the SPL. Keep an eye on Brazil. It's going to be a big week, and see if Kliz is coming to land or not. So that does it for the SGS. Normally we would do the SPL right here. You guys good with that?
What's the SPL?
I think
it's the SMITEPro League.
Sounds good.
It's like North America and Europe. It's pretty much similar to the Smite Global Series. It's just for North America and Europe. Okay.
I don't care so much about that.
Cool. Let's see how we did when we predicted it last week. Graham, you were not here, but we predicted for you. Still winning. But only 2%. Taco, I will say, we gave you a little bit of, at least I gave you a little bit of ribbing for this Splyce pick over eUnited, but you nailed it. You were right in that regard, but you did pick SK to win a set.
Yeah, okay. I don't know.
Look, sometimes you gotta weigh out your wins with your losses, and
you were drunk when you did these, right? And then when you did the SK one, you were 2 past drunk. That's what it was. That was bedtime when you went SK. Man. Definitely SK.
It was just you get that feeling in the gut sometimes, and you think that it's gonna be SK's time to shine, and then you remember that it's SK.
That energy Obey game though.
I know.
Oof, we all were wrong on that.
We were all wrong on that. And Obey Alliance continues to prove that they aren't just a flash in the pan here in the fall. I think this is a real contender for going to Dreamhack Atlanta.
That's the team that was supposed to be here in spring. And it's took a time. Like we talked about when the roster change between Energy and Obey happened between Raffarin and Millsy, that eventually what would happen is that I expected Energy would get off to a slow start and be good by Worlds. Well, they're still that, but they didn't get off to a slow start. But it's Obey that got off to a slow start, but they're looking good for Worlds.
Definitely are so far. This is what happened last week on Tuesday. Dignitas did find a 2-1 victory over Team Rival. The big games that we want to talk about will start on Tuesday. No, we'll start on Tuesday.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about SK winning game.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, we're not going to talk about that, I don't think.
No. Well, I just did, so.
Well, there you go. Rival versus Dignitas was the first matchup of the week in a really big one. Rival, after losing this, is basically all but out of that top 2 contention. A big drop for this team from looking like the best team in the world for the majority of the year, in my mind, to now a team that I'm worried that they might be the next Envy, where they're the best team all year, and then they have the one bad split and the one bad LAN, and they miss out on Worlds. Now, luckily for the console scene, they don't have to feel their wrath after that, but I think there's possibility for that.
I think it's a subject we touched on before, but probably the biggest detriment for Rival is that this is actually the first season where people are expecting this team to really pop off, and I don't want to say that the pressure has drastically impacted their mindsets or their playstyles, but I do feel as though there was a certain air of overconfidence from this Rival squad after some very successful LAN performances, and that could possibly be the primary reason why we've been seeing such a downfall of Rival.
Yeah, the team as a whole, though, they've already admitted on social media that they're not having the greatest of splits overall. But like Taco said, this is the first year that Rival people are looking at them going, hey, these are world contenders now. They made it to finals last year. They've had 2 good splits, I should say, in spring and summer. But now the pressure's on because fall's around here, and that can change a team when you're like, oh, you're expected to win? Well, it does put the extra pressure on that you may not feel, but it makes an impact.
I think it does too. Now, keep in mind, to be fair here to Team Rival, they have historically been not as good online, great on LAN, and so there's still certainly possibility for that coming in to this placement stage, but I don't know. I don't know how you look at the way Rivals played in this fall and feel particularly confident about them coming to LAN and performing well enough to not just sneak into Dreamhack, but go into Dreamhack with some degree of momentum.
But I think that's what's the most concerning part, though, because you do have other teams right on the nips of their heels. Just look at Mouse. I think even now we still can't consider SK completely out of it because there's always a possibility for SK to play spoiler to some of these teams at the actual event.
I'm looking at Obey. I mean, if you're going to look at a team that can really knock Rival off of a top-end seat and kind of unseat them in Europe and take that spot, I think Obey has got a real chance to do that at the placements.
Obey do have a shot. The best thing is it's double elimination of the placements too, so the big thing there is what's going to happen. Because everyone's going to get a chance to place a team. Funny thing is, EU and NA could end up knocking each other's out as well. As the tournament progresses, I actually did my bracket for the whole of placements. So like 3 games I can't decide on for Worlds.
Wow. Only 3.
So 4.
Well, only 3 games undecided for how it's going to end up at Worlds, you mean?
Yeah.
For
I don't know who wins the semifinals, so I don't know who wins the final because I don't know who wins the semifinals.
So you're basically saying that the teams you're still open, your DMs are open, if you will, if you need to be convinced one way or the other.
That's right.
As the script writer, of course. The other game in Europe that was really big was Energy versus Obey. We already touched on that a little bit, but Obey end up not just winning this set, but really making it look fairly easy here. How... Are you guys really feeling like Obey is a real Worlds, not just Worlds Dreamhack contender, but a championship contender?
I still feel like this Energy versus Obey matchup is just a very particular one for Obey, in that I think it's by far the most aggressive Rapper we really get a chance to see. And it's also, ironically, the sets where Rapper looks best because it feels like he just wants it a little bit more.
Obey's one of those teams that always, by the time Worlds comes around, they have solved the equation that is the season.
Right.
Right, in terms of the meta and in terms of what's strong, what's weak, and where they can abuse. Like running Nike supports and things, we're not signing that in a hot minute, but there we have Obey doing it again. This team is where they shine, is in those scenarios where they'll come into the Worlds or, you know, the placements, if they end up in placements, which is likely, to end up coming in and bringing out some meta jank that no one's like, what is this? And it works. We saw full boots from them before, we've seen invades from them before at level 1s, all sorts.
That was a sick cleanse, by the way.
That
from
was
Ataraxia.
a sick cleanse. That's what I was just about to say.
That
That was really nuts. Ataraxia playing the Chiron. You know he's going to be happy about playing that. Remember, Obey not out of clinching top 2, so they might not even have to go to placements. They might be the top, but they need SK to give them some help, and looks like Energy might be taking that one. We'll go into our predictions for the Dreamhack clinchers as well in a little bit, but Obey Alliance, a team to watch out for. Then the other big game of the week was eUnited versus Splyce, where Splyce proves that they are for real. I think you can unequivocally say Splyce is now one of, if not the second best team in North America right now. I mean, they'll have to prove it to later on this week. I believe it's tomorrow up against Space Station Gaming to earn that second spot in the standings. But man, Splyce beating United, they're the only team to do it all split.
Yeah, and they look good doing it too. It was a great set between the two teams, honestly. Back and forth encounter where there was highs and lows. It was a great North American set. And it's not often I get to say it was a great North American set for quite a while. But that was a real true barn burner.
bias.
EU bias, yeah. But I mean, he's kind of been right. When it comes to, when it comes to eUnited games, Graham has been right in that regard, because all of them have not just been eUnited wins, but easy eUnited wins. I mean, they really haven't had to struggle very much at all.
Sino's having such a split though.
He really is.
He's really
played
flying
so well,
and he's not getting as much credit as he probably deserves for it either. But that's a good thing for him because it means he's going to keep grinding.
Cyclone has also been really, really good so far. This split, the Izanami picks, the Gibalanque picks, the picks that no one else is really playing. Basically, he's looked very impressive on.
I think the meta is open just wide enough for teams like Splyce to be able to experiment a little bit more and still make it work, as opposed to before where things were a little bit more limited. So I think the Splyce for sure is a team that is functioning much better now that they have such flexibility available to them.
Splyce was a team going into the year where you're like, man, I hope this team does well. But it's not going to happen, because we've seen these teams happen time and time and time again of these like potential superstars. The one thing about Splyce that I love the most though, they've all got a very similar personality. They're slightly troll, they try hard, they're good players, but they have a lot of fun too.
They do. They're
like
definitely
Devios and Aurora on the same team from the old Eager days. Like, it's back again.
It's fun to watch, man. I'm excited for this Splyce Space Station matchup later on, and I don't know how you feel like Splyce isn't really, really hot right now, and Space Station pretty lukewarm at best overall in North America. But we'll get into that in our predictions in just a little bit. For now, it's time for some top plays, and normally we toss it over to Tom, but again, he's in New York or someone else. So I'm just going to go ahead and do them with you guys on the desk.
I got you. I can do it for you if you want.
You got it a little bit?
I'll do it.
All right, well, we can all do it, but we'll let you take the reins.
All
Graham?
right. You ready?
Yes.
In number 3, this week, the most exciting play you've ever seen. It's Panda Cat playing Ho Yi, and he gets an amazing ricochet.
Wow. No way. I can't wait to see this play, Graham.
Watch this fight in the lane. It's eUnited dominating once more, up against Splyce in the early game. This is the only moment that looked good, and then the back from Aurora. Boom! Headshot.
That was pretty nice.
Free
Rookie
as
mistake,
a
though.
bird.
Yeah, well, you can't back in the lane against
You
Ho
can't back
Yi,
that
you know
far.
what I mean?
When you're that close
That's
to the tower,
balls, that
you're
is.
in between the
That's
towers.
balls.
Aurora's
you
like,
stand there and be like,
show it to me.
You ain't going to hit this. You ain't going to... Oh, you hit it. Oh, well.
All
I was basing anyways. It's okay. That's
It is faster that way.
You want number 2? Or do you want,
I would love for you to keep going.
In 2, we have, I don't know, it's Jeff. Oh, Jeff making Homie F.A. retire is literally what's about to happen. Or get kicked, one or the other, whichever way you're going to put it. Let's have a look at this play. He gets the best Monolith playoff I have seen in a hot minute. Whether it's intentional or not, Jeff will give him the credit for this.
This is definitely
This has to be
intentional.
This is the moment CLG went, let's get masked.
Right
You ready?
there.
Boom! Into the Monolith and just like, okay,
That was going to be, okay, in Homie's defense, that was going to be a really good ultimate. Jigs was timing it well on top of it. And then Jeff just goes, you aren't in the
career ended. Yeah, that's how it went.
That's sad.
See, I should do this each week. In number one this week, the greatest play we have for you. Actually, this is pretty serious. Energy probably did something that I've never seen. I've never seen it happen on the map. I've known about it since I came to Smite, but I've never expected. It's one of the last bastions of pillars, basically, that are like left standing of things that could happen on the map that you never expect to really see. Energy did the wraparound at a fire giant the long way between a tier 1 and tier 2 tower. This play is like,
it's absurd.
I'm just so sad it didn't happen at Worlds. That's the only thing I'm sad about this. It's just a regular season game. But this play, watch where they go. They ramp all the way around the left. It's a very long clip.
And Mouse is up.
Yeah, Mouse is up over 10K, right? They're up like 14K.
And the wall placement's all on the right-hand side, too. It's filled. It's like a Christmas tree of lights on that right-hand side for vision for mouse spots. This is the only path Energy really have to get around. And it's between the tier 1 and tier 2 tower. Now, it's not just sneaking between there and not getting spotted.
Right.
It's also timing it with the minion wave, too.
Yes.
Because the minion wave comes through and spots them. They're screwed there as well.
Exactly. Emilzy did tweet after the game that this was Adapting's call. So, yeah, Kenneth, just an absolute mastermind.
Energy always have been masterminds, though. Whenever they've got behind in Season 2, Season 3, when they were behind in the World Championship runs that they had so well, there was always these situations where they came out of the blue with some new tactic that came up huge.
Every team is sure to be watching their back from this point forward, though, because nothing is ever safe on the map.
It's a one-off.
Insane.
The problem is this play can't really happen again because just one ward will defeat this play.
Yes, it will. And you're right. There is a little bit of sadness for me that it didn't happen at the World Championship because of that, because now every team is warding between Tier 1 and Tier 2 tower at this point. But man, that was insane.
So they're the top plays. How about top fail? Well, we discussed it a little bit earlier on as well. It's the Console League, and it's Gnome destroying the hopes and dreams of his opposition.
Yes.
3 Fire Giant steals in one single game up against Noxious. There's one. Okay, so no one was looking. I get it. No one was looking.
Okay, but
no
at
one was
this point,
zoning.
there are 2 Phoenixes down.
All right, game 2. All right, like that was a contested one. No one was really zoning again. He managed to get in there. All right, number 3. No one's really zoning again. Hello?
Chronic the Bros is the soul laner, and he's hiding from him. He lets him walk in.
We're all ignoring him, too.
I've seen this multiple times, and I still don't understand it. Every time I watch it, I just get more confused.
It hurts.
Every time.
It hurts. That hurts me on the inside. And I didn't lose my spot to go to LAN because of it. Imagine how they feel.
Pretty rough situation, but you deserve to be abused by that. You deserve to lose going to LAN by letting something like that happen. That'll teach you.
I agree. You can't come to LAN if you're going to let that happen. You know who is trying to come to LAN?
SK?
But the later one, well, they are coming to LAN, guaranteed. But Ataraxia, the hunter for Obey Alliance, he's coming to LAN one way or the other, but he's trying to make it a guaranteed ticket to Dreamhack Atlanta. We had a chance to sit down with him. Let's take a listen.
All right, I am here with Ataraxia, hunter for Obey, and I'm glad that you took a moment to sit down with me because you all are looking so much better, I feel like, in the fall split. I asked Hazer a little bit already. First, just what do you think it is that's helped you all improve so much in this split from where you all were earlier in the season?
I think it's just been a bit of a rough growing process for us since we took Ref on. I think the rest of us were a bit jaded, honestly, not because of Raf, but because this is another year that we've gone through roster changes, not of our own choice. So having to go through that pain again kind of got to us, I think. But I think things are finally starting to click. Raf is definitely a player who he switches on a bit more towards the end of the year, when the stakes are highest. So I think that's what was in a huge improvement from him in particular. And as a result, the team is because Raf's really stepped up big time.
Now, I guess it's not the most likely thing in the world, but I mean, I imagine you all are big SK fans right now, right? I believe you all need them to win a game up against Energy, and then if you all can 4-0 the rest of the week, then you all still have a chance to be in that top 2. So how much are y'all rooting for SK right now?
So much. I've got my season ticket. I've put SK as their wins. They've got wins against Energy. They've got wins against Dig. It's our fate is kind of in our own hands. If we do well this week against Dig, then we just need SK to take one game. And they've been on a bit of a streak recently, to be fair. Sure. They took a match off Rival, and they took a match off Mouse. So, that's progress, right, for SK. So they can do it against Energy, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't think it's unheard of. They've been going to 3 games, so let's hope so, at least for you all.
No.
And I know y'all don't want to think too much about this, but let's say that you all do end up in those placement stages. Have y'all looked towards any of those NA teams at all yet? Are there any other ones that are projected to be down there and done any work on them? Or are you all waiting to see if you make it through first? What's that like for you all in this kind of weird position you're in?
Oh, we always try to keep tabs on the other regions, just in case there's something we can learn from them. Splyce in particular have been looking really, really strong as a eUnited. So those are the two that we've really been trying to watch and learn from. But by the looks of things, I'll probably end up top 2 based on this last week. So, no, I don't know. Doing the BMEU thing, I don't think the rest of NA looks that good, to be honest. But I'm sure I'll eat those words if we have to go to qualifiers and end up losing.
No problem. Hopefully you all are able to avoid them. Well, I wanted to ask you, because it feels like it's so open right now for Smite, just kind of in general. Like, supports can play whatever they want. Solo laners can play so many options. How do you feel over in the Hunter role? Do you feel like you have a lot of options available to you? You can kind of do whatever you want over there? Just talk to me a little bit about how it feels for you and what you are allowed to do.
I think it's fantastic. Yamin did a tweet a couple of days ago, and he said that he feels this is the most balanced Smite has been, especially in mid lane, because the variety of characters that you can play right now is massive. You've got immobile mages, which Brian's been favouring with Zeus and Aposh. You've got Zeros, who's all about the pressure with Morrigan and Sol. I mean, how many times have you even got to play Morrigan because people have banned it against him? And then you've got Hunters over in NA. So there's a big god pool that mid lanes have, and I feel it's the same in the ADC role. Right. I think we've not been as adventurous as mid laners, and people could really branch out. But already the amount of characters that have been picked in that role is pretty high. We've got Freya making it as an ADC. Honor is pretty big in NA. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Chiron recently. Hopefully maybe some Kernanos as well, because he did just get buffed too. So
that's right.
Then you got Arcos Rom. There's a lot of characters out there, and I feel like it's a really good time for Smite.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I love watching you all play because I know you all are willing to experiment maybe a little more than others. So it's always great to get y'all watch y'all play. Good luck to you, whether that's in the top 2 or in the placement stages. Either way, I just appreciate you sitting down with us, man.
Oh, thanks so much.
Thanks again to Ataraxia, the Hunter from Obey Alliance, feeling pretty confident about how they're playing. And I think that his point of the meta being wide open, it really does favor a team like Obey Alliance.
I want to give credit where it's due to the balance team too, though, because the state of Smite this year is really solid. We're going into Worlds. There's nothing that's maybe there's one god that's going to be 100% banned, and that's fine. That's kind of standard what you expect going into a World Championship. But the rest of the scene, every actual role has plenty of options for itself, and a few that are probably being slept on for Worlds.
I don't think there's an unequivocal best god in the game right now.
Arachne.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm
only saying it because every tier list and everything says Arachne is the bottom, and then a support Jeff Hindler is going to come out with this Arachne play, and you're going to go crazy.
No, I don't think that's going to happen.
No, me neither. I tried to put it in the script, even I couldn't get it to.
I don't think that's going to happen. Who do you think the best god in the game is right now? Just one god.
Athena.
Athena? That's probably a pretty good answer.
Pele.
Interesting.
I think she's overtuned.
I think Freya's pretty darn good still. I don't know.
Freya hurts.
She gets a lot of mid lane pressure pretty freely.
I think the one thing about her that's really strong is a banish.
Yes, banish is
great.
That's
all it is. The banish is the key.
But I think that speaks to it. We all three had a different answer in that regard. So I think that's going to make for a really good world.
You can have a different answer. That's okay.
Sure, Graham. Thanks for that. Let's go to the meta discussion. Normally we do this over on the casual set, but we're all here, so we'll do it all here.
There's only 3 of us, so that's
exactly. CLG makes a big swap at basically the 11th hour. They switch homie for Masked in the jungle. What were your initial impressions whenever you heard this route?
Well, it's Mask's staple retirement call. Yep. I don't think that any of us are really all that surprised to see Mask being brought back into the Pro League.
Nope.
I feel like this is always going to be the case with Mask whenever he makes a retirement tweet. But more importantly, at least something needed to change. That was very obvious with the CLG roster. Things just clearly were not working out, and whether it was an issue just with the team synergy in general, they decided to go for this homie FA swap up for Mask. And I do think that this might actually end up favoring them coming into Worlds. I just still don't necessarily believe that homie FA was the problem necessarily.
I think that's where my disconnect is I don't, there was a problem. I just don't know what it was. And that makes it very hard to diagnose, right?
I agree, and a roster change can help that. The problem is like you said, though, it's the last minute, and I think that's the one problem. They've got 2 big games this week. It's CLG up against eUnited and Luminosity.
Right.
Luminosity should be a guaranteed win. eUnited should be a guaranteed loss.
Yes.
On paper. So they've come in with a new player, Mask, joining the team. They've got to find the synergy before Worlds now. I think it's too little too late, especially when we're talking about spring and summer of hey, this is probably the 3rd team in North America, no problem. I don't even think they're fourth right now with how they're playing.
But at the same time, I think you're right. I think it is probably a little bit too late to be a world championship contender. But look at the alternative where they're playing horribly basically all season long in comparison to what you expect them to do.
But why wait so long? Why wait so long in full split? That's where my
I
issue
agree,
is with it.
but at the same time, it's better than not doing it at all, isn't it?
I think
mean,
that they wanted...
If you're not going to win with this roster, sure, it sucks to do it this late, but at least you're doing it.
No, I get that.
You know what I mean?
They wanted something for Worlds. They wanted something different for Worlds, and they didn't really have much option. It's either now or never, do or die kind of situation.
I just hope if it's Matt's birthday around the World Championships, this would be great because he can go to the Sea Life Center. Not Sea Life, what do you call it? The Aquatic Center?
The aquarium?
Aquarium, there you go. Sea Life Center is one of the versions in the UK. You go to the aquarium, right, on his birthday, and it's free.
Taco,
it means he's actually making his day
Can you smell that cup? Make sure it's all on the up and up.
He has said he's had like 8 of these today, so it might be something in there.
Okay, all right.
I didn't have to do this whole show, so I'm like, okay, I guess I'll perk up.
CLG looking to do a little bit better with Mast in the jungle. I do think Mast was the best player on Trifecta when he was playing for them.
I just don't know, like, after all that time out of retirement, whether he's going to be able to find the same level of competition that he once did. It's a long time that he took a break for.
Real long
that
time.
Retirement was longer than Lassus and Omega combined.
Here's my issue, though, is Mast still not necessarily all in, though, for competitive play and kind of just filling in because he views CLG as a roster he can actively compete on a little bit more so than Trifecta? Or
It's a good point.
is he just someone that CLG managed to convince to come join their team because maybe Homie Efe had some wavering concerns with the roster and everything going on with that team in terms of their failures as opposed to successes?
The one thing you'll always find out, though, is that eventually you'll get the whole story out. But generally, we get the whole story 4 to 6 months later.
Yeah, it'll be...
About why Homie Efe was removed from the team and Mast was put on him.
Do you guys still think Homie Faye is a top 6 jungler in North America?
Yes.
Yes.
I think so as well.
No
I
doubt.
don't think Homie is going to stay on the bench for long or without a team for very long. I think Homie is still...
Though.
I don't know. I mean, Sam's played well for Trifecta, but that's the newest member to the SPL,
you're right,
so that's an obvious thought. I think Sam's played very well. I do think that with the team, with the teams being so much more constricted, with only 6 teams in each region, it's tough, man. Even for really good players like Homie, a move like this could really stunt the career for maybe ever.
See what happens in Season 6.
See what happens in Season 6. But that's not all we've got from the meta discussion. I think that here is the best time for us to talk a little bit
Memes?
about... No, we're not going memes yet. Who's going to Dreamhack? Who's going from the top 2 seeds? Yes, directly. So I wrote this headline before I knew that it was us and we were going to be doing our predictions.
Oh, okay.
On, so.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. So maybe we'll save the North America one because we'll talk a lot about that first because it's basically just SSG versus Splyce straight up in their matchup later on. But I think that we can safely talk about how Energy is likely to make it in Europe. All they need to do is 2-0 SK, if my memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, they need to 2-0. They can even 2-1 SK, technically, but they have to rely on Obey losing elsewhere. So basically, the big situation is if SK can take games off Energy and Obey can win out without dropping a game, Obey will go over Energy.
Sure.
But Energy themselves, all they have to do is beat SK, sit back, and just hope Mouse and Obey have a long set.
That's certainly a possibility.
Kind of how it could work out there. But 2-0 for Energy over SK, and they're in. They're the top 2.
Isn't it crazy that if Mouse had actually been able to close that set against Energy, which they should have won, that Obey Alliance would be in a commanding position right now and not Energy?
About it, that call from Adapting in that game that we did as the top player of the week, that is the player that sends them to Worlds, which is amazing. It basically gives them a week off to practice, scrim, and watch all the other teams play. And
they get a much better seeding at Dreamhack. Taco, do you have any thoughts that Energy won't be the 2nd seed in Europe?
I think it's just too unlikely for Obey simply because of the fact that Energy have such an easy pathway. All they need is the 2-0 over SK, and with the way that if you just... It's like comparing apples to oranges. You just can't with these 2 teams, and Energy have proven themselves to be the top tier.
I agree with you, Graham. I think that the phrase comparing apples to oranges seems fairly easy.
They're 2 completely different types of fruit.
Peas and carrots.
Types of fruit. If you would have said that's like comparing mud to the feeling of happiness, like you just can't do it. See?
That just doesn't make any sense.
I'm a pig, and pigs like rolling around in mud, and that makes me feel happy.
Right, but that's not comparing mud to happiness.
Right, can we just take this moment to bask in the fact he called himself a pig?
I mean, if you call it yourself, no one can call it you.
Exactly.
It's easy game, easy life.
They can, I suppose. Yeah. This is going to devolve pretty quickly, so let's throw to our best moments of devolving all week long. It's our classic meme video, Shouts to Joe Bro, preemptively. And how could you not? Do you remember the first skin you bought with gems? I do. I remember the well, not yours, but I remember mine.
I can't.
It was Jack the Reaper Thanatos. I saw it on the patch notes show, and I thought, I need that. And that was the first time I ever bought gems. And then I kept buying gems and kept buying gems. And that's why I got hired by High Res Studios. So if you want to work for High Res Studios, just buy a lot of gems. That's all you got to do.
Plug.
Hello! Make sure you get your after party ticket too. That's $50, and you can get that at hrxafterparty.eventbrite.com.
All these SPL teams looking to be top 2, so they don't have to go to placement stages. You can be top 2 just by going to highresexpo.com and then hrxafterparty.eventbrite.com. That's 2 tickets, and you be top 2. There you go. Nice and easy.
I don't know why you just repeated everything I said. This is what co-casters do sometimes when they've got nothing else to say.
Nailed that one. Go ahead and close it.
He made plans for 7 o'clock. It's gone past 7. What are you going to do with your night now? Just sit there?
Yeah, I'm basically going to sit here. Yeah, I guess.
That's what he gets. See, he's trying to be funny. I mean, it's green tie. Well, it's over now. Thursday comes to a close. That's the end of Europe. Tomorrow, it's all about North America.
69 divided by 3. 13. Oh, no, 23.
Armada Esports coming in the middle lane for the first time.
And remember, this build a bit accelerated for him because he never went for that Hunters early on as Benji blinks into the shards of ice and then the freeze under tower.
Neil is fine.
Okay.
So that happened.
Benji.
The blink shards of ice, a classic maneuver.
Right. The if you open up the Amir playbook.
Right. That's actually
play number 1.
Right. No, that's play number 4. Play 1 is walling your teammates off.
Yes.
Play 2,
like in the fountain, stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. Play 2 is using your wall to stop your teammates' backs. That's big plays.
Yes.
Play 3 is buying Hunter's Blessing Ymir,
which actually farms.
And then play 4 is Blake Shards of Ice. Anatoly Alexeyanok is a really cool name that definitely does not get enough credit.
No, because it's a very long name, and whenever I'm on the phone with my bank teller, then what I have to do is slow it down so much because the last 2 letters are okay. And when I say okay, they think I'm done spelling my last name, so I have to specify last 2 letters, okay. And Starbucks, I don't even tell them my real name. I just say Andrew. And they still spell it wrong.
Oh,
man, the plight of Anatoly.
It's been a long year, though. Like, I just want to put this out because these meme videos at the start of the year, they're not so bad because it's like, but it's been a long year. That's all I can say, and like the memes get worse as the year goes on. We'll all be revamped for World, so back on our game.
I was really on my nonsense last week.
You really were.
Yeah, what was that all about?
I was apparently.
I knew the death situation with me, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this idiot bit, and then I'm like, wait, he was doing this on all the casts?
Yeah, pretty much, more or less. See, when you aren't listening, Graham, I definitely.
I've noticed.
I take that opportunity.
Y'all try that stuff.
Hopefully Anatoly's feeling better about his name these days. I still maintain it's a pretty cool name.
It's a great name, but I love the fact that the OK at the end is the key.
Yeah,
it's really smart.
The pure rage coming out was really what made that moment for me. He was so upset about it, but I feel for you, buddy. Okay, let's move on to our SPL predictions for this week. It's the final week of the SPL, and therefore the most important. Pretty easy in that regard. Let's take a look at Europe, actually, is what we usually start with. Did I say something besides week 6, by the way? I think I did.
You said week 6.
Oh, I said it.
I'm
good.
Makes a change.
We're all good. I thought I had that paranoid moment. We've got Energy
you
versus
Mouse?
SK. You've got Mouse over Rival?
I've got Mouse.
All right.
They look good against Energy.
They did. No, you're right. You're right. You know what? It's not as crazy as it initially looked, but still kind of crazy.
You know what? She might be right.
Dig versus Obey. We all have Dignitas. None of us feeling confident in Obey Alliance. I mean, that's a tough week for them. Dig and Mouse is a pretty tough week.
To be fair, I wasn't all that confident in this Dig versus Obey selection. The only real reason I gave it the edge for Dignitas is because of the fact that they've been so consistent week in, week out.
That's Europe. Let's take a look at North America and see our picks there. The big one, SSG Splyce. We all have Splyce, really.
Luminosity over Trifecta. Taka, what are you on again?
What? Luminosity over Trifecta.
Okay.
They look pretty good too with their roster.
You got LG
swap.
going 2-0. this
Yes.
week.
You got beaten CLG
I
and
have
Trifecta?
I have them beating CLG and Trifecta.
Wow. Okay.
Real
So
confidence.
I
there.
was less confident in the Trifecta set, though, than the Luminosity set. Of course, this was also prior to the announcement with Mask having
Sure.
joined CLG, so
Would you change it?
Would you change it now?
possibly so, but I'm going to leave it just
Wait.
because stick with your
Okay.
gut.
I'm 2% down to Graham.
Mm.
And I need, so I'm not going to pick, we have the same picks all through. So I need
I'll
to change.
one. I'll change one.
No, the destiny's in my hands
But why is it in your hands?
because I'm the one who's down. You're in the lead.
He's the Desk Host.
No, it's not about that. It's about that
Go on, then.
I'm
Go on.
down.
What are you changing?
Well, wait, what were you going to change?
I'm not telling you.
Oh, that's
cheating.
maybe, I mean, just see what you were going to change. and
I'm
then
going to
maybe-
copy something Taco did.
Okay, you're going to pick Mouse over Rival?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow. All right, I'll let you do that.
Yeah, okay. I'll take.
I'll
Mouse
take
over
one as
Rival.
well. I will take my picks as is. I don't
SSG over Splyce.
Well, okay,
Yeah, exactly.
Space Station over Splyce is not as absurd as it might seem currently. I don't know. Space Station have just had so many ups and downs. It's been a roller coaster of emotions, even just watching the team. So I can't imagine what it feels like to actually be a part of that
I know.
roster right now.
I don't know if Graham gets one wrong, is that enough of a percentage
think
point
we're even.
change that
Yeah, I
would
think
make
so.
us even? Okay, then I need to change one
Why?
so that I can win.
I'm just changing to Mouse, so
I
that's
know,
changed.
and I'm going to change one as well. That's different than that.
So
so
you
that
get
I-
two, so you
that I
gotta
can,
have-
so that I
that's
can
smart.
win.
That's smart.
I will tell you that in a minute.
I'll advise you
as we get
to trade SSG and Splyce. You should vote for SSG.
You think so?
I do.
I don't, because I think SSG is going to win. But then we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's talk about Dignitas versus Obey. That'll be on Tuesday. That's today, actually. This is a big day for Dignitas and Obey. I think that this is a really good opportunity for Dig to prove how far ahead they are of Obey after Obey just beat Energy. You know, they seem close with the top end, but they haven't played Dignitas in a while. If Obey win this, then all bets are off for what's going to happen at placements and who's going to be the top team coming out of Europe, because it very well could be them.
It could be, but I do think on paper, though, looking at this set, this is a tale of two teams that are very similar in play style throughout the split as well. Both of them like to take the games longer, look for the team fight aspect. They're not scared about giving stuff up early if they need to. They'll find a moment, they'll see somebody out of position and go for the play. The one difference is, I'd say, is that Raph is a little bit better at getting himself in an awkward spot than Trix is, that can help his team out better, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So baits himself better than what Trixan goes. Trixan kind of baits himself and dies for it, whereas Raph sometimes gets out. That's the only difference between the two. But on paper as a whole, Dignitas, I still feel have the edge and will always come out on top.
I think this is a 2-1 in Dignitas' favor. Would you guys agree with that, or do you think it's going to be 2-0?
Depends on the first game for me.
I see a 2-1. I could definitely see this going all 3 games, no doubt. But I also can see it happening as a 2-0.
Yeah.
The same.
I think if Obey take game 1, then I think Dig to win 2 in a row. That's basically where I'm at.
Okay.
They'll either win the first 2, or they'll lose the first one and win the next 2.
Fair enough. Let's go to Space Station versus Splyce. It's the biggest game of the week, unequivocally.
Yeah, it is.
Winner goes to Dreamhack Atlanta, guaranteed. All of us have Splyce here, and if I think that if I would have heard myself saying that sentence, that winner goes to Dreamhack guaranteed, and then said, all of us have Splyce, I would have been like, what happened to Space Station? But it really does feel like that Splyce has all the momentum in the world.
Think about it this way, though. Who's the only team in North America to beat eUnited?
That would be Splyce.
So where's your money going to go? And when eUnited have played off against Space Station Gaming, how did Space Station Gaming do?
Not very well at all.
Which equals answer is Splyce. It's just...
But just because Splyce do
breakdown.
well against a team like eUnited doesn't necessarily guarantee that they're going to have a repeat performance against Space Station. Splyce at times does have a tendency to play up or down to the level of competition that they believe they're up against. Everybody knows that eUnited is the favored team to win in a match between these two. So for Splyce to have actually taken that one home, I do think that they play fantastic, sure, but I also think that you have to keep in mind what the mindset of the actual team is going to be like in that sort of situation as well.
That whole play was sick. It isn't just Barra interrupting Rising Jaguar there, but
There's a
Ven
lot of
actually
stuff.
blocked the pluck with his turret placement at the perfect moment. I mean, that was serendipitous almost for Space Station. These two teams did go up against one another earlier on. I believe that they went all 3, but Splyce ended up winning that set, if memory serves me correctly. in a really, really weird late game team fight.
And I think that's the key, is the win is going to come through for Splyce here as well. I think that's the one thing that they can try and throw Space Station Gaming for a loop. Space Station do struggle a little bit on peel, and they always have done as a team. You have Jeff for peel, but nobody else really cares about peeling for anybody else in the team. It's all about survive yourself.
Right.
And I think against a team like Splyce, who are just going to barrel in at a character, there's going to be rough times ahead for potentially Veneno and Barrow in that set.
All right, I need to figure out a change here.
I think
still
that
working that
the
out?
Space Station Splyce set too. Splyce, my assumption in the end was that Splyce would win, but Space Station would do really well at placements.
Can I give you some advice? I've changed one, so we're definitely going to be different. So we could either tie.
I'm not here to tie.
Wait. Or you could gamble.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the gambler here, but you could gamble on changing one and then Taco beating you as well.
Yeah, I'm absolutely going to gamble that.
That means you'd be the worst.
I'm willing to take that risk.
Worst case scenario,
just
we've
like
all
You're
done a
either
good
first
job.
or you're last. Okay, that's the way it works
I'm
around
always
here.
first, so
I've
never seen what it's like.
This is the only split you've beaten me. What do you mean?
What are you talking about?
I was first in summer.
Where's your proof?
It's in the VODs. We could
Wait,
absolutely.
who won spring?
We didn't do it in spring.
Was it? Oh yeah, there wasn't anything. In
No,
spring.
we started Esports Weekly later on. Okay, I've got to figure this out. Hey, you guys know what to do for HRX promos. Can you do that real quick while I'm figuring this out?
Again?
Yeah, I mean,
This is all the time.
yeah, I know. We always do.
Shall
this.
I say it
But-
and you'll just repeat me, Taco? Should we do it that way?
Or I should say, then you
Yeah,
can
go for it.
repeat
Go for it.
But
Sounds good.
We're not. No joke. All jokes aside, though, HRX is certainly going to be a pretty fantastic time that you guys are going to want to make sure that you show up to. And now is the perfect time to get your tickets in advance. You might regret it if you wait a little bit too close to the date, because it's not the first time that an event is sold out before.
And that could be a real issue. So make sure that you do get your tickets now, because all jokes aside, this is a really good tournament, and Dreamhack's right around the corner. Get your tickets at HighResExpo.com. Get them early and get them now, because you never know that it might sell out.
You guys have after party to do. What are you looking at me for?
Well, I'm glad that you brought it up, in fact, actually, Aggro, because the after party will be the next spot to hang out at after the primary Dreamhack event. Not only that, but $50 gets you through the door. You'll get a chance to watch everybody really unwind. Sometimes throughout the week of the actual competition, players can be a little bit tense and stress levels are
I
rather
figured it
high.
out!
And this is where it all goes uphill for everybody, because you can just have a great time unwinding at that after party.
Luminosity's beating CLG to close the week. Mask isn't quite ready yet. The team doesn't have the synergy. That's where I'm going with my pick.
Okay.
You're both just copycats.
That's Esports Weekly for you here. We got Global Series coming up right after this, starting at 11 a.m. Big week of SPL, so make sure you tune in, and we'll catch you guys next time. But for now, you can peach it.